Hello, leaders. Once again, I'm back. Uh, Now we'll have a very interesting session that I was talking about on building a quality pipeline. And initially, we thought that I'll have my team talk about building a quality mentor pipeline, industry pipeline, and funding pipeline. But we thought let's make it a bit moderated, where I can be a voice between our incubator partners and our team members and share both sides of the story. So can I have Yuvraj? Thanks, Yuvraj. Yuvraj is our director for innovation management, who heads the value partner desk, mentor desk, and as well as delivery of quite a few programs. Yuvraj, for the building a quality value partner pipeline, let's also talk about what's a value partner and building a quality mentor pipeline. And then we'll start taking a couple of questions and make it very interactive.
Thank you, Vijay. So most of the incubators, including THub, would try to give our best to startups. However, due to various reasons, it would not be systematic. When you want to build a world-class incubation center like THub, what we thought, building a systematic way of supporting startups is extremely important and critical. That's when we thought we'd build a vertical for stakeholder management. When you say stakeholder management, so we have mentors at one hand and service providers for the startup at another hand. So where we manage the desks by a dedicated person. So as we know, I can see most of your mentors already for the startups at one point or other. So with THub, what we did, we used technology for creating a mentor desk. It's not just about listing a mentors and connecting them, but to create a process where end to end we utilize the service of the mentors effective way and capturing it, what kind of mentor sessions we are doing for startups. It can be one-on-one, one-to-many. It can be startups sitting in this particular building. Startups beyond THub where we do our webinars through online. So when we run a flagship programs, each and every flagship program have a dedicated mentor for each and every startup, where we mix and match based on their experience and expectations of the startups and experience of the mentor. That's where we do at mentor desk. At this point of time, we have 250 plus mentors registered on THub platform. So that is one side of the story. So other side, so startup need a lot of services. It can be credits, it can be a legal services, taxation services. So it can be a design thinking. So that's where you need a little more than mentoring, obviously. A dedicated support that's where we talk about value partner. We have 80 plus value partners starting from Google's AWS or taxation consultants, GT, KPMG. So big brands as well as affordable where startups can avail these services. This is specifically where our stakeholder management, where we have built CRM tools. Using CRM tools, we have built dashboards for both the verticals where so we can capture the entire, at the end of the day, if you run an incubator, you need to look at outcomes. So you cannot randomly say that I have 250 mentors. What you have done with these 250 members is extremely important to capturing how many connects we made, how many hours they spent together, how many of them are one-to-one, how many of them are pro bono. So when it comes mentor, how do you capture it? Is it paid as free? So some of the mentors probably do it for free because so they've already earned enough money in their life. But however, some do it as a career. So you need to clearly identify them and make it remunerative for them so that startups as well as mentors would be happy. So I think that's a long question for a 1 minute answer. Okay, so we made a small presentation. I'll quickly run through it. This is the stages. Typically we do it. We start with a need. First we identify what is the need of a startup. Then we will list pool of mentors. Technically also we have mapped with some keywords. So based on keywords as well as our internal knowledge desk run by Czarina. So we'll identify the mentors. Then we engage with them both one-on-one as well as one-to-many. Then we take feedback from both mentor as well as startup. So we'll take a decision whether to engage them or disengage them. This is a process we follow. So these are different types of engagements we have for our mentors. So when you say community, for THub community, both physically as well as virtually, we have flagship programs starting from So Blitz, pre-idea to prototype. Then we have rubrics, prototype to MVP. Then we have Lab 32, go-to-market program. And we have T-Angel, where we help them to make them funding ready. So each and every stage startup require a different type of mentoring. So based on their requirement, we engage the mentors. So one-to-many and one-to-one both will engage. So what's in but mentors? We incentivize mentors, providing them various opportunities. So not only sometimes we pay for one-on-one mentoring also. This where we incentivize them. We make them part of corporate innovation programs where we utilize their services, where we are identifying problem statements or helping the corporates, connecting them to the startups. So this is the kind of dashboard we have built. So yes, come. So Czarina probably would take a minute or two to explain about how you are using technology to capture all these things. So this is where typically we do. This is only a snapshot of what we do. We have an in-depth CRM tool where we capture each and every outcome. Mentor-wise we do, startup-wise we do. How many one-to-one we have done? How many of them are pro bono? How many of them paid? So end-to-end we have captured it. So it depends on what kind of a topics we are covering. That also we capture. So this is what technology is extremely important. So using technologies helps us to capture the outcomes. Most of the incubation programs are state-run programs. You would get funded by government of India or state. So you need to present them extremely important numbers. That's where probably technology would help you at a fingertip or a snapshot. So our mentors, they have a wide variety of backgrounds, governments, corporates, social sector. They themselves, some of them are entrepreneurs themselves, research and development organizations. So these are some of the examples where they are from. So we have testimonials from the startups who would say that how the mentorship helped them to navigate through their journey. So I think I would stop here. Of course, as I said, most of your mentors yourselves, we have seen startups firsthand. These are experience, so you would have your own experiences. So would love to happy and connect and see how in what best way collaborate, make it the mentor network better for the benefit of the startup ecosystem. Thank you very much for the opportunity. Vijay, thank you.
Thanks, Yuvraj. You be there. I think couple of important questions that we should dive deep on is how do mentors approach us? Like, what is the starting point, right? Or that's inbound. That's more inbound. How do we go out and approach our mentors that, hey, you are the right mentor, and we would like you to engage with our startups. How is that process happening? How many of you have this question? Yeah. Let's try and answer that. We can also call Czarina on the stage to toggle between Yuvraj and
Czarina
Czarina.
is a girl who takes care of our mentor desk, who handles 250 plus startups as well as, mentors as well as startups. Yes, Czarina, over to you.
Yes, so we get mentor leads both inbound and outbound, right? So more of how it works is whenever we have a startup and we don't have that particular mentor, we do our research, we pull in. We tap into our existing pool, we see how we can ask them for their network, and we can onboard those mentors, or we reach out to them on LinkedIn. We go to various other incubator networks as well and see whether that particular niche sector is available, that mentor is there with other ecosystem partners. Or inbound is more of, right, everybody wants to get associated with THub. It's more like that, but we have a very critical selection criteria that is certain parameters, which is years of experience, their motivation to mentorship, their intent towards mentorship. It's not more of commercial, it's more of giving back to the ecosystem and things like these.
How are mentors compensated? I think that's a very important question, Czarina and Yuvraj. How do we compensate mentors? I would like one of you to just take that question.
Yeah. So certain programs we have budgets, and certain engagements are paid, whereas more of this relates to giving back to the ecosystem, right? So we have other benefits that we offer to mentors, which is brand visibility on the mentor directory, which can be post-program advisory. That is, they can take up advisory roles on the board of startups. They can invest in startups, and things like these, and co-learning opportunities between mentors. So that's more of it. I mean, that's between the startup and the mentor if they want to at a later
So
stage.
taking an equity between mentor and startup, we generally leave that discretion between both the parties that are engaging together. We kind of have very minimal interventions there. Uh, Zarina, how do we say no to a mentor?
So we don't say no to a mentor if he is qualified to be a mentor, and if the intent is to give back and help the startups, we just wait for the right opportunity. We maintain that good rapport with them and connect them to the startup when there is a need. So it's more of a need gap game than a get everybody and don't balance the demand supply.
Can we have Devi?
Yeah,
Hi,
hi.
Devi.
Good afternoon, everyone. I think I'm from the funding desk of THub, and I think as Ms. Lakshmi ma'am has just mentioned, there are 3 M's that are very important to a startup. I'm proudly involved with one of the M's. And I think I will not steal the show from Prasad, so I'll keep it very precise in what I'm going to speak about and what we do here at Funding Desk. I'll just put it into 2 components, what we do and what's the value add for all the stakeholders, taking cue from what you have already built as a framework. Next. So predominantly 3 stakeholders that we deal with, which are the investors, be it angel investors to VCs, micro, macro, and startups, of course, who are the center of the entire ecosystem, and the funds, which we manage and which most of the incubators manage. These are just some metrics. You must have been seeing these metrics for quite some time today. So I divided the funding ecosystem into internal and external. Internal involving the funds internally that we manage, and external being the private investors and co-incubators or peer incubators that we collaborate with to get our startups funded. First stakeholders are startups. What's the value add startups get from funding? Needless to say, funding is a very important resource for any stage of startup to propel to all the plans that they have. So funding is definitely important, and what they lack in the journey of funding, amongst myriad things, importantly, they are short of telling their story effectively, which kind of can get them the buy-in from several stakeholders like investors or fund managers. So that's where we come in. We consult with the startups to understand their plans of funding and help them to identify the best routes of funding. This is the journey, pretty much how I think most of the incubators do. There is preparation in terms of the legal documentation, if all those are in place, the projections, if they make sense to the amount they're raising, the pitch deck readiness, storytelling readiness, and so on and so forth. The next important stakeholders are, of course, the investors. I think when, again, Ms. Lakshmi has asked, what is it that investors have from incubators? Why should they be collaborating with incubators? 2 gaps we identified among several others who have answered today. One is, of course, deal pipeline, needless to say, but they're also looking for a space analysis because the volume of startups that incubators see versus a pipeline of different kind of startups that come to individual VCs. I think they look at how we can analyze the space and understand the different trends in the space. So we do come up with a newsletter on different type of startups that we're seeing, say, in deep tech, what are the latest trends, and say in space tech, how it's trending, and so on and so forth. We do encourage them to do thought leadership events and masterclasses and so on and so forth to give the awareness to the startups to understand how their funding journey should be, when they should raise money, what would be appropriate amount, and so on and so forth. And we also do strategic partnerships with them in terms of helping their portfolio companies, because of course for the investors, their existing portfolio is the most important thing. And how do we help them? Again, with all the several arms that we have as an incubator, be it mentorship arm, be it the program arm, be it the value partners, be it the market access. Through all these, we also encourage the portfolio companies to join hands with us. This is again the same thing about how we help portfolio startups with market access and further fundraising as well. Now, the third stakeholders, of course, the funds who trust us and give the fund to us to manage. I think a lot of us here have funds which are specific to certain sector. THub being more of an agnostic kind of incubator. We also manage certain funds. One is the Telangana State Fund, Startup India Seed Fund. We are managers in a few other funds. One thing that we stick to as a principle here is keep the process extremely streamlined and be compliant, because the startups don't, in very early stage at least, are not aware of all the investor communication they have to do, reporting that they have to do. But being like managers to certain government funds, I think it becomes our duty to kind of encourage them to be compliant and keep in view of the regulations from day one. It's a very good hygiene that we can teach the startups from day one and encourage all of them to be the same. And most of these funds also want us to be extremely compliant in investor updates. And I strongly believe that that journey starts from the incubator who is managing that fund. So that's, I know Zeel is looking at me, but thank you all. That's all I had today to say, I think. This is the process, and some of our star startups, we are always tempted to portray them. So from various funds, some of the events we have done, again, metrics, our favorite. But over to you guys.
I'd like to invite Vishnu, my colleague Vishnu from the Corporate Innovation Desk, to talk about how do we build at THub. What we believe is how we can collaborate with corporates and create a strong market access and corporate innovation for the corporates, and a market access opportunity for startups. Vishnu.
I don't want to, first of all, I don't want to bore you to death with a presentation. It can be more conversational in nature. I'm a senior manager of corporate innovation at THub. What does that essentially mean is, I keep interacting with corporates from India and from different parts of the world, understand what are they trying to do in terms of innovation, and see if THub, or for any incubator for that matter, to complement the journey. How do we do it? With the help of wide gamut of startups that we have. If this is not comfortable, I can use it. Am I audible? Cool. So this is nicely put by one of the professors called Henry William Cheshbro. What he tries to tell is, quote unquote, useful knowledge today is widely distributed, and no company, no matter how capable or big, can innovate effectively on its own. So it is extremely well summarized. So he tells about two things. We interchangeably use corporate innovation and then open innovation. I'll try to give a quick example of what both of those are. Corporate innovation is something a corporate does internally, innovate something internally using their R&D teams with hefty budgets that they have and the talent pool that they carry. So all the innovation that happens internally would be confined to those four walls. So innovation is kind of very confined and then restricted. On the other hand, open innovation is something you tap onto external networks of startups or various incubators like us, or industry bodies, and for that matter, even governments when you co-create something. The difference would be the later would get more access to talent pool, and they could possibly see something which they have not thought about in their last few years of existence. That is what he's trying to tell here. I just want to quick set the context and then move into maybe specifically corporate innovation, and then what THub does. How do we build our industry pipeline? On in a single line, how do I define this as from an incubator perspective? Corporate innovation helps us generate lion's share of our revenues to be self-sustained. Only solely running a startup programs or helping by startups, by definition, might not be a sustainable way of executing an incubator. That's why corporate innovation gives you lion's share of revenues. And what are some programs that we run at THub? from corporate innovation perspective. Corporates come to us because they always have this confusion of build versus buy. Should they build it internally because they have huge budgets, subject matter experts who charges them a bomb, good time, efforts, everything they would want. However, why do they have to reinvent the wheel when there is a startup who is already solving for them? Let's say I'm a HR tech business unit head. I have a problem in hiring. I'm taking 2 months to get a right candidate. How about I co-create something together with a HR tech startup who is already solving for it and then reducing the time to at least half of it? I'm saving a lot of time, money, and efforts. So at THub, corporate innovation team acts as an interface between the corporates and then startups, and then reduce the time to market. Time to market is of greater essence. For me to quote an example, I'm sure most of us sitting here would have heard of Instagram. I mean, some of us might be using as well. So Instagram started as a social media platform, and then over a period of time, it has turned out to be a influencer marketing platform. Now it is a direct selling platform. All of this morphing has been done without our attention, considering market insights and then customer insights. So the half-life of a product is hardly 6 to 8 months now. Corporate can't wait on their R&D departments to get a product after 2 years and 3 years, which becomes either obsolete or completely irrelevant. So that's where Incubator plays a sweet spot role to engage startups with the corporates. And moreover, I'm quoting an example from yesterday's conversation with one of the consulting firms I'm talking with. They wanted to build incubator muscle internally by themselves, which is a great idea. We want to complement it. However, as an incubator, we have not just access of startups, but we have wider access of ecosystem entirely. You might be finding a startup by Googling it and then doing basic diligence. But incubator's expertise would come in place in understanding what is the startup's journey, what is the founder's composition, is he good enough to face a corporate and build a product at scale. All of these nuances are extremely important for a corporate to engage with startup. However, at this juncture, from various corporate interactions that I've had, they think they can do everything internally. So we as incubators should be thought leaders and then tell them what is our expertise and why do they have to rely on incubators like us, not just by giving startups, but also delivering proof of concepts within lesser time, because half-life is extremely important for corporates. These are some of the pointers I wanted to cover. I can get into a lot of details in corporate innovation, but we can make it more conversational if you have specific questions around it.
To stay informed about the startup ecosystem, subscribe to My Startup TV.